track there called Death Rattle. 12 minutes past 8 now on Kiwi.
Basically, this generation is more liberal, more tolerant, more Democrat-leaning than the one before. It's not just because they're young.
For another point of view, it's Hard News with Russell Brown and Wammo on Kiwi.
This is from publicaddress.net, the media, and also the Media 7 show on TVNZ7. Russell Brown with a few opinions this morning. Morning, Russell.
Good morning.
And of course, the Qantas Television and Film Awards were on the weekend. Did you go along?
No, I didn't, because we weren't in the running, so, I had a quiet night.
Okay, well, that's nice. But of course, the fracas that's erupted after that is a little bit bizarre between TVNZ and TV3 over the footage of the actual awards.
Yeah, I don't think either side is covering themselves in glory over this one, actually.
Not at all.
Well, and the irony is that the awards are put on by the Television Broadcasters Council, via which free-to-air broadcasters are supposed to cooperate and advance their common interests, and I don't see a lot of that.
Do you think that TV3 should hand over the footage to TVNZ?
I think it would be the right thing to do. On the other hand, it was TVNZ's turn to screen this, and they decided they weren't going to. I mean, they made these agreements when the awards were separated off from the main Qantas Media Awards, and they were going to take turns screening this stuff. Okay, it's not exactly a ratings winner, but you'll either decide you're going to screen it or not, and TVNZ didn't. Probably much to its chagrin, given that it won 11 of the 12 News and Current Affairs Awards, and wants that footage. And of course, TV3 saying no.
Yeah. How much do you think the awards actually matter to the public? I mean, do they see a reporter from TV1 getting an award and go, "Oh, I'm going to watch that for now on"? I
was struck that the TVNZ's win did get quite a lot of newspaper coverage, but I don't know if it means that much to the public. I sometimes wonder whether it means too much to the industry, especially compared to the print media, the traditional Qantas Media Awards, the print media version. Those awards tend to be seen as much more a matter of individual recognition. Right. Whereas I suppose in TV, just because you've basically got the two big tribes, it's incredibly tribal.
Yeah. And
there's all this cheering, tribal cheering every time one side wins or the other side doesn't. And I don't know. Maybe I don't think that was quite the right way to go with it. Look, recognise people's individual achievement, but turning everything into a corporate pissing match is not actually the way to go, frankly.
Yeah. Do you ever foresee a time where such an awards ceremony won't be dominated just by two networks?
I can't see a new TV network with a proper news service starting up anytime soon.
Or what about TV news becoming less and less important?
Yeah, there's that too. I don't know. I think Prime is clearly established now and is starting to take New Zealand on-air funding and make programs. Not their news still isn't up to much, but so you would think that at some point something will come off for them. But TV news less important. I think it'll still be important because people still want to watch pictures.
Right. Yeah.
Whether they watch them on their computer or on TV, who knows? It probably doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. Well, on to a completely different matter. There's an interesting link fired around the Twitter sphere yesterday from Bernard Hickey about an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
Which kind of pokes fun at New Zealand for our stance of looking after the environment as opposed to the economy.
Yeah.
Well, not that we are, really. But
one really important thing to know about the Wall Street Journal is that there are two parts to it. The news part is a respectable and authoritative news service from a really established masthead, and the opinion part is quite often barking mad. And this Kiwi carbon haze, New Zealand's cap and trade rationale is a bunch of hot air, is exactly that. The author, who as far as I can't even see a byline on it, doesn't really seem to have much idea about emissions trading schemes, because it's hardly as if we're the only country in the world doing it.
Yeah.
It's quite a I'd love to know who's written it, because it is quite bizarre. I think this may be also driven by the fact that the last time the opinion section of the Wall Street Journal mentioned New Zealand, it was to hail John Key as the great white hope, the last hope of the monetarists and the economic neoliberals, and they are presumably a little bit disappointed in him now. But it is quite odd. I mean, there's not that many facts in there. They describe our this is green PR gone wild. New Zealand already boasted one of the world's most pristine environments before it passed cap and trade, which is what they call emissions trading, last year. I don't think that's quite true.
So really it's just a general tirade against green politics, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. But it is striking the gulf in quality between the two different parts of the Wall Street Journal, because there will be things that have opinion in them in the news section, but the opinion section itself is reliably bonkers, and probably has gotten worse since Rupert Murdoch bought the Wall Street Journal as well. Yeah.
Well, this links a little bit to what you guys are going to be talking about in the Media 7 show this week when it comes to reporting on science.
Yes, yeah, and we've actually got, and there's a little set-up video for the discussion about that, where we've got a thing from a couple of months ago on Fox News, where in talking to a guy from the Discovery Institute, who are young Earth creationists, about alleged factual errors in science textbooks in American schools, the host encourages parents to, are your child's textbooks wrong? Tell us. And the implication is that we'll all be burning them or something. Yeah. Which casts a rather odd light on James Murdoch's speech last week to the Edinburgh Television Festival, where he repeatedly invoked George Orwell in his criticism of public broadcasting. The voice of the state cannot grow too powerful. It's like, well, I think I'd rather have the BBC than that sort of nonsense.
Yeah. So will the panel be looking at the way science is reported in New Zealand, or not reported?
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, and it's a perennial problem. It's hardly new, and I actually think it may have improved a bit. But the two of our panelists are, one is Dr. Peter Gluckman, who's the Prime Minister's new Chief Science Advisor, who I've spoken to a couple of times. He's actually pretty accessible, and I think he's done some really good things lately. His background around global warming may have upset the usual suspects, but it was very clear. And I think there's some real value in that, and someone speaking with a reasoned, authoritative voice and saying, well, this is what we know. Yeah. And we've also got Peter Griffin, who's the manager of the Science Media Centre, who I think has done really good work, and they've got a new blogging platform for scientists coming up as well, modelled on science blogs in America, so I'm quite looking forward to that. And on the end there, Chris Barton from the Herald, who I think is one of the best feature writers in the country. So. And often writes about science.
It's interesting, this morning I was chatting to Dr. Wayne Cartwright, who's the editor of a paper that's just been released last week that seems to have flown well under the radar about strong sustainability for New Zealand. It's come out from Sustainable Aotearoa New Zealand. And it's been reported, I think, in the Otago Daily Times and a couple of online publications. But it's a paper that's been put together by a think tank of some quite important thinkers here in New Zealand. And for some reason, completely flown under the radar, and it has some alarming kind of predictions in it, but also some strong, optimistic predictions for New Zealand that you'd think that the wider public might be interested in, but there doesn't seem to be any interest in the media.
No, and I wonder whether it's because it looks all soft and greeny and not suitably robust to be using words like sustainability. But I discovered this actually, I think 2-3 years ago when I did a story for the Listener on where our science was heading, and sustainability is such a keynote to New Zealand science in the next 20 years.
But
everyone's agreed on it. The scientists themselves are like, yeah, this is where we have to go.
And what this paper actually looks at is the actual definition of sustainability and the fact that the general definition we have in New Zealand is incorrect. And we're not headed towards a sustainable future at all under the current definition.
No, probably not. But if you look at the strategic direction of a lot of the science, that's where it's beckoning.
Right.
Whether we're doing that on a policy front, no, you're right.
Yeah. But it's a debate that needs to be had.
Yeah, absolutely, because we've got so much to gain from actually sustainably managing our environment. For everything from tidal energy to novel things that can be pulled out of nature.
Yeah.
Biomaterials, which are basically things made out of wood, but which aren't traditional timber products. We're actually quite a way down the road there. I mean, that's a really good opportunity for us. But, like you say, no one really talks about this stuff that much.
Well, we'll look to your panel with interest on Media 7 and, of course, follow your blog at publicaddress.net. Thanks, Russell.
Jolly.